here to align with that initial vibration. We come here to recalibrate, to move away from the push and the pull of karmic energies and affect human race consciousness, and to move back to the beginning, back to wholeness, back to integration, back to sustainability, back to divine order, back to right action, back to a shared communal experience of living, back to the beginning. So we come here to reclaim. We come here to reconcile. We come here to redeem. To buy back human history with our love. That is the exchange. That's the currency. You redeem, you invest something. You invest something, you put something back into it. If you get a coupon, it only has value to the maker. You got to take it back to the one who made it for the exchange. We are redeeming our humanity. Not because we are so bad, but because we are so powerful. Because we can. Because we should. Because we must. Because we want to. Because it's time. Thank you. Thank you, Mother, Father, God, Spirit, Almighty, for such a time as this. It is good. It is really, really good. We just get out of the way, into alignment, and allow it to be. And so it is. Yes. Amen. Just listen. Amen. Do you have keys? Yeah. Go in somebody's office. They get moved around. Anybody's office. Right. Leah's office right there. Yeah. Leah's old office. So Russell's getting a handout for us, something that we're going to be going over and reviewing. So let's have a few people tell us the good news, something that you are grateful for in this extraordinary time. Okay, Kaylee.
You're muted.
Unmute yourself.
No, that's her new little dog.
Wait, we can't hear you yet.
Okay, hold on.
Okay, there you go.
I want to introduce you guys to the amazing Bogart. And there's nothing in the world more to be grateful for. That
Oh, yeah. That's great. It's reminding me of a conversation or a lecture I heard years ago from Marianne Williamson. And it was after this long relationship workshop. And she said that this one particular woman kept talking about all what she wanted and the unconditional love and all the rest of that. And at the end, she realized what she needed was a Cocker Spaniel. That's about all that she had, about as much as she wanted to give, and she could have all the stuff she wanted back. You know, I'm going to ask everybody to come closer. It's just easier for the cameras, unless you just really, really comfortable. I need to get something too. Gotta come closer. All right, anybody else want to do a quick check-in? Something you're grateful for in these extraordinary times.
I'm grateful. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you go.
No, take it.
Yeah, I got it.
Chair. Oh,
Who's talking?
Sorry.
Margot's
Hi. I'm taking the class that Sarah's helping facilitate called Waking Up White. And oh my goodness, what a wake-up call that is. Very, very eye-opening to how I was brought up. So I'm blessed.
Very good.
Blessed to be here at such a time as this.
Is there anything, I realize it's just getting started, anything out of that you care to share? Because I know it's sacred, safe space, so I don't want to interfere with that, but is there anything out of that experience that you would want to say even now at this early stage?
It's just how sheltered I have been brought up, how privileged it seemed that we lived, totally unaware of what was going on around us. Like it didn't matter. That wasn't our life.
Yeah.
And it is now, and I'm so blessed.
You know, what I want you to just remember is that that's not a personal fault or flaw. That is the systemic design. The systemic design is for you not to know because of this very thing. Because if you know, decent people can't reconcile it. If you know, it can't continue. That's why addiction has to live in secrecy. Because once it comes to the light, it's too much incongruence. So that is part of it. That's why I keep saying that if we're really going to get rid of the isms, we can't just look at the supply side. We can't just look at things like the discrimination or the methodologies, but why does it exist in the first place? It exists in the first place to protect the privilege, to protect, and then people are duped. They're duped into it. They don't even know that the structures and the systems have been set up this way because it gets characterized as the opposite. We're good. That all of these things exist because not only it makes sense, but everybody and everything is better because it's structured this way. And you have to be convinced of it first. See, there's this thing called internalized depression. And what internalized depression basically says is that whatever it is that's going on, it doesn't even have to come from the outside anymore. It's self-perpetuating. You're doing it. So we're all oppressed by oppression. The ignorance, the lack of awareness, that sense of comfiness, but it's not just the sense of comfiness that's the problem. It's the degree to which we will protect it. That's the problem. The problem is the sense of how fragile it is and how easily threatened. And the lengths that we will go through to make certain that that reality is not disturbed. That's the problem. Do you feel what I'm saying? Yeah. The problem isn't the ignorance. It's the light that we will go through to keep that story going that we have created about how it is.
The lies.
The lies, the distortions,
The denial.
the denial. Because without the collusion, it can't happen. It's when you keep hearing me saying all the time that we have to say, not in my name. I don't want this. You're locking people up to save me. You're going to deport everybody to save me. You're going to, discriminate the Muslims to save me. You're going to do all this stuff to save me. No, you are not saving me. This is a lie, and we're not going to buy it. But it is that lie of being saved, and that we need to be saved, and that this is a good thing. And yes, all of this should happen. That's what keeps it going. That's why everybody gets duped. That's why everybody gets bamboozled. If you take something like Jim Crow, for example, we think of Jim Crow as discrimination against, Black people or Jews or non-white people, whatever that is. But the only way it can work is through the collusion. The only way that Black people can't get hired is if white people don't hire them. Do you feel that? So the ban isn't really just a ban against the Black people getting the job. The ban controls the white employers and says who you can hire and who you cannot hire. It's not one way. And that there's punishment on both sides. That it isn't just like one way. If you step out of that and you do not collude, that's the only way you can get it to work. You get what I'm saying? That's the only way you can get it to work, is that everybody else has to collude with it. And it's the collusion part. It's the collusion part that's problematic. So when people get to the, oh, well, I didn't do anything, like I didn't set this up, you may not have set it up, but we've been colluding with it.
Going along to get along.
Yes, it's a complicity of it all that gets to be problematic. That makes sense?
Yes.
Good. And it's courageous. It's courageous to disturb your world. It's courageous to say, I'm willing to see things differently, because it goes down to the core of our identity. The core of our identity. But the truth shall set you free. And this is why I'm saying all the time that being colorblind doesn't help. We need to see, we need to own our respective privileges so that we can then use it. We can't make a difference if we're blind. You can't be an ally or an advocate or a change agent if you're taking pride in what you don't see or what you don't know.
Or what you think you know. What you think you know. Yeah. And you're attached to that.
Go ahead.
And what you think you know, you're attached to that. So that completely colors being open to what you're saying.
Exactly. This is what we think we know that we protect.
And Rev Deborah, I have a
Well, when we finish? Oh, I'm sorry.
I was going to just share.
Yeah.
and
What's your name, Marta? I'm so with her of what I'm grateful for. I had no idea when I came here. I just knew I had to come, and I knew now realizing how I pushed down so much stuff and the excitement of opening it up. And it's scary because it's like, I don't know what's happening. The part that thinks, that has been the thinker of who I am, it's clueless. It's just got to, But I am so hungry that I can't wait for today or yesterday to come back for more. And I was sick at home for 5 days. And the whole time I went back to the old YouTubes that I missed before I came in the class to take the time to open up to that.
Oh, good. You got good stuff.
Really good stuff. Really good stuff. And I wanted to say one thing about the privilege. I'm seeing my privilege all over the place. It's just like in every level of everything. So I was sick there, and I couldn't sleep for a few nights because I couldn't breathe or whatever. And I was I was being a victim. I was being a victim. And I caught it and I went, wow, that's the privilege. Why not me? Or that I was in a car accident and I'm in pain all the time. Well, why not me? I never got that before of what that implicates about everybody else in this world and what they're doing.
Yes.
So that I am so grateful to have that door being opened now.
Yes.
And the willingness to be able to see that.
Yes. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. That's part of what's been going on now with this whole red and blue thing. That those who have been disenfranchised have a callousness, saying, well, why not you? Why can't you feel the pain of unemployment for a while? Why can't you share this burden? Why is everything jumping all up and down just because you've been uncomfortable for a few years? You've been worried about your house payment, or you're worried about, what about all the rest of us? So there's been a kind of shutdown, lack of compassion, good. Join the party. Maybe now we'll all do something about it. But for the people who aren't accustomed to it, and exactly what you said, that's part of that privilege, it shouldn't be me. So the reaction is boom, and it won't be. It will not be me. It'll be somebody else. But I'm not going to be the one employed. I'm not going to be the one. It's not going to be me. It's not going to be my town that's bombed. It's going to be over there. Everything's going to be over there, over there, over there, over there. Not me, not mine. And I'm going to talk about how this plays into our economics in a minute.
It's a complete reperception. I can see it's starting to happen. A complete reperception of how your mind functions.
How we trained our mind.
How we train our mind, and that's not it.
Yes.
And then the opening of the switch.
Yes. Selma?
I'm just grateful for having enough and also being here learning the truth about how to share what you have. Everybody asks me how you share. I said, if we give back, and that's being able to help people. Like I look at my mom, I'm just grateful. I come from the cotton field. And I said, Lord, thank you for putting me in the place that I can get something to pay for my mom's home care. And the joy I feel to try that joy for me was something that my mom had to work in the field for me to go to high school. And I said, just let me live to help my mom, to pay for her care and help others. And I'm grateful that I'm able to help others. I don't know where it is, but I'm grateful to give back and want to help more. So that's what I'm very grateful that God gave me strength and to live to help others.
Amen. This is good. All right. Yes.
Feels like the Republican Party wants less government control, and the Democrats want more government to control. For doing the deed to make sure that the rights are. And the government tells me who I can hire. I know that in Arizona I have to certify people on, for citizens. I can't hire non-citizens. And then over here, in this county, they tell me how much I can charge for rent. And so it's like it's I don't think it's about the government. It's about changing the government, because if less government, the way the government set it up is for us to be in the dark.
Well,
It's just
yeah.
it's just changing. It's about changing the government.
Well, it's about, and we're going to be talking about this today. Do you mind cracking one of those windows? It's about the underlying value system, okay? And don't believe for a moment that the Republicans are about less government. That's not true, okay? There's different ideas about what they want the government to do. But, they want the government, and they want the government protection. You take, for example, Trump and his 5 or 6 bankruptcies. I'm talking about billions of dollars that taxpayers ate and that banks ate. And all the time, how many times did you hear him say, I use the laws. I use the law. I didn't break the laws. I use the laws. Yeah. It's bullshit that they want less government or less laws. It's just they want fewer regulations. That's not less government. They want fewer regulations that restrict what they can do. But they want just as many tax breaks and tax bennies and trade deals. That's government. That's government. Military protection for their investments around the world. That's government. That's big government about like who can do what and who can come where and all the rest of that. It's bullshit that they want less government. It's just a difference in values about kind of how much is for the common good. How much is for the common good? And that's the discussion for today. Okay. Picking up from where we were last week. That when we talk about economics, we really are not talking about money. Okay. Economics is not money. Economics is a social science. It is a behavioral science. Economics is the science of people and how people use their resources. That's what economics is. Okay? Political science is a social science. It is the science of people and how they govern themselves. But economics is the science of people. Now, the reason why this is so important is that every economic theory is based upon an underlying assumption about people, about who they are, how they act, how are they supposed to live, who they are in relationship to each other by some kind of like intrinsic divine design, so to speak. Okay, it all involves your ideas about who should rule, who should be in control, who should have access, who shouldn't have access, how much, like what are your individual rights and privileges, what really is a resource, who should have the resources, who gets to control the resources. All of that are assumptions about people. Are you with me? It is a world view about people. And the problem that we have here is what's often referred to as unexamined assumptions. That there are all of these underlying ideas that we don't take a look at. You hear me in these trainings talking about that we often try to solve a problem on the supply side, but we need to look at the demand side, yes?
Yes.
Another way of saying that is cause and effect. That if you just try to solve a problem at the level of its effects, at the level of its symptoms, and don't get onto the underlying causation of why the problem exists in the first place, then it's just going to keep morphing. That underlying cause is going to keep going, but it's just going to shift. So my mother, when she first started teaching at this school, she taught there 41 years in East LA. Combination 7th to 12th grade girls. I don't know, I think they call them opportunity schools now, but it was the juvenile delinquents is what they were called before. It's like last stop to juvenile hall, or some of them were actually in juvenile hall, but you know, they got to come to class. So back then it was sniffing glue. In 51, they were sniffing glue to get high. Now, you know, every decade is like a different drug of choice, but that underlying demand to escape reality, to, you know, get high, it's always there. Are you with me? Mm-hmm. So as long as there's that demand, there's always going to be something. And we have to take a look at what are those underlying demands that are there, and what do they say about our human nature. So what we are here to do is to uproot those underlying assumptions. What I've been trying to do in this series is to get you to challenge those underlying assumptions. That you don't have to get into a whole bunch of arguments with people about all of the politics, about all of the different policies that are coming out, and what's the right way, or what's the best way, or what's the Republican way, or what's the Democratic way. You know, like, that isn't even the problem. The problem is the value system. See, the underlying problem is the way that we are perceiving things, and the way that and what we believe about human nature. So last week I was talking about how the roots of capitalism started. And I'm not going to go all over that again, but what I want to say is that it was born out of the idea of the rise of the individual. This was a huge, huge paradigm shift that basically said the individual could have a direct connection to God and didn't need to have a pope or a priest or somebody over them, that the individual could self-govern and didn't need to live under a monarchy or something like that, that the individual had the right to self-employment and to ingenuity and didn't have to work for the gentry, you know, wealthy class as their, you know, servants. You know, and on and on. This was huge. This was a whole, can you feel that? It was like a whole re-idea of what the person could be. This is heretical. Absolutely heretical compared to what they had before. The only problem with this, and the way it got started, is it wasn't a worldview about everybody. It wasn't a worldview about everybody. This was a very Western European notion idea that's coming up in reaction to, for lack of a better word, it's kind of like sibling rivalry. It would be like when you get a situation where you have the firstborn who gets heir to everything, and then you have the younger ones where there's nothing left. Like I said, all the land was taken. All the wealth was taken. It's like if there was a big pie, there weren't any more slices.
It was just a big pie.
It's just a big pie.
Yeah, big pie went to the firstborn.
Yeah, big pie went to, you know, when it went to the ruling class. It went to the ruling elite who controlled everything. So you have this rise and you have this tension. And it's always going to be there. I believe that it's in human nature. I believe that when people are oppressed and that they are suppressed and there are gross inequities and gross inequalities, that there is something within the human spirit that's going to rebel. I believe that there is something in the human spirit that longs for freedom, that longs for self-determination, and that they will only be oppressed for so long. Okay? So, and I mentioned it really quick, this was white people oppressing white people. Okay, this isn't,
I understand what you're saying.
it's just, it's like there's just something in the human spirit that says no. But you become what you don't forgive. That was the problem. You become what you don't forgive. So the people trying to get up out of that recreated it. Started exporting this consciousness all over the world so that they could become the feudal landlords, so that they could be the ones that had everybody working for them, so that they could be at the top of the caste system, but exported that consciousness. So capitalism exported the hierarchical class systems out of which the pioneers of it came. And the way in which it was put forth, it put in the structures and the infrastructures that would maintain the inequities. We saw that in the beginning when we looked at the United States and how the infrastructure of the United States was never equal, was never intended to be equal. And if you look at this nation and you look at intent, for example, you had industries being developed that could not be self-sufficient. You had whole economies being built on the importation of slave labor. There is no way that those few white people could possibly have developed these plantations and all that cotton and all that tobacco and all of the rest of that. That's fueling the mills and the factories in the north and all the import and export business. Are you with me? That the whole system, we talked about before, what is the economic security supposedly in the early days behind the value of the dollar? What gave the value, what gave the dollar value? Gold. Gold bullion in Fort Knox. Where is there gold on this continent? There is no gold. There's no gold here. How do you even have the audacity to start a nation and an economy upon a resource that's not natural to you. That's not even a resource that you have. Where did the gold come from? Where did the gold come from?
From America, from this country.
No, we didn't have the gold. Gold is in the earth.
Yeah.
There was no gold here.
I mean, it was in this country, but it was
No,
in mines.
no,
It was.
no.
Africa.
Africa. The gold was in Africa.
Yep.
Okay?
Okay.
The gold was in Africa. The labor force was in Africa.
What was the
We
gold
built
rush? Gold rush?
the gold rush was a hoax. The gold rush was a hoax. Remember we said, I was explaining how in order to become a state, you had to have so many white people. So what the government did is corralled the natives off of their land. And it gave away millions and millions of acres to white settlers as a promise to go west. If you just keep going west and expand the Torah territory. But even though there were people living in the territory, they didn't qualify to be a state until there were white people there. But they really only got so far as to the Midwest. Because the West here, this was Mexican territory. This wasn't native territory where they could just take the land from Mexico and give it to the white people. So they literally started to sprinkle gold dust.
Oh.
They seeded.
Yes, they started to sprinkle gold. That's why if there was really gold here, then this would have been a booming economy. Those little shaky towns went bust. People came out here panning for the gold, could never find enough to build anything or to make any kind of living. Is there any trace in California of gold, or the fact that this economy is somehow connected to gold? Because it wasn't here. So they sprinkled the gold dust to get them here, to get people to come further west.
Wow.
The U.S. government is the question in terms of who sprinkled the gold.
Didn't say that. To be honest with you, you're right. Up at Lockheed, I worked at Empire Grid. We found a whole lot of the sprinkle of the gold. Because everybody said, no, this is gold dust. And it's right up on Empire Grid Road. Yeah. And if you go up there and you around, you'll see the sprinkle, like see that little gold thing in it, you will see it.
Yeah.
And I didn't know. I said, this is good. I said, no, this sprinkle of the gold.
Yeah, and I shouldn't say so much sprinkle. It was dumped in the water. It was dumped in the water. It was dumped in like certain rivers, because so people were panning and whatnot in the rivers. They weren't digging gold mines because there was no gold underneath to find. They were panning. They were panning the rivers for little nuggets and whatnot that they would find, because there were little nuggets that were floating in the river.
Even in Alaska, there was no gold.
There was never, but Alaska wasn't a state.
Oh, that's right.
Alaska was, that's like way later that we annexed Alaska, like we annexed Hawaii And, you know, quiet has kept Puerto Rico for what it's really worth. But this is this kind of progression, like here to the west. Have I lost anybody? Are you with me? Another example of what did she say, rope-a-dope? Let me see the people. How about managed participants?
Oh, yeah. No, it's Kelly.
Yeah.
There we go.
So, okay, now you got to understand this part to understand the next part. Is everybody with me?
A lot of people have made money in the gold rush for the merchants that supplied food, whiskey, and women.
Oh yeah.
The miners.
Oh yeah. And they were part of the colluders in getting the gold and spreading it in certain areas. And then you build the town. And then everybody's indebted to the town. You got one grocery store. You got the company store. It's kind of like the prison system. Still, we have this captive audience, and they can only buy from the prison stores, you know, and they can only, and they, like the sharecroppers, you can only, you know, use the company phones. It's this built-in. It becomes this built-in system that's then exploitated.
You said when people are down, that you want to take it so much, right?
Yes.
And you're looking for reasons to hide drugs and block which your reality. That would be a fabulous reason.
Oh yeah.
To be oppressed.
Oh yeah.
So then, like that conflict thing, what they took, where you gave drugs to the government, they gave the blacks. They went to prison. They got money.
Oh yeah.
With guns from Contras.
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah.
You look at the,
It's the whole. It's like this whole cycle system.
You create a system where the oppressed do the drugs.
right.
Then they get arrested.
There you go.
Now they become slaves.
And that's what you did with the Indian. They bought the alcohol.
About the alcohol.
They bought the alcohol, and matter of fact, it was they bought the alcohol to definitely put the alcohol. If you go in the South, they'll put a liquor store where the Indian were. So now they know Indian can't take alcohol. So that's what
It's the same thing. I mean, if you go to the ghettos,
yeah,
the number of liquor stores and tobacco stores, like per square blocks, it's just off the chart. It's just off the chart. You know, I mean, yes. So I'm building a case here, but you gotta like be able to connect the dots here. So this notion then about people and the rights of individual people and their rights to do anything in the name of their own happiness. This is critical because capitalistic economic theory is based on these three assumptions. You hear me talking about this from the pulpit fairly frequently. Resources are scarce. More is always better than less. And people always operate on their own self-interest. Those are unexamined assumptions about the nature of things upon which our whole economy is built. It becomes a rationalization and it becomes a justification. So sufficiency isn't even in the equation. Enough isn't even in the equation because more is always better than less. So success has no end. There's no there. It's constant more consumption, more of this, more of that. I remember seeing a bumper sticker that said, "He that dies with the most toys wins."
Yeah.
I'm like, wins what? You're dead.
Thank you.
You know, and somebody else is playing with your toys. But that insatiable And capitalism plays off of that. You always have to have more. You got to have the next one. There's got to be this, that. More. And that's what drives the economy. It plays off of that existential dilemma that we have about needing to feel whole with our connectedness to the divine, so it exploits that. So more and more, particularly with this society, where fewer and fewer people are feeling connected to the divine and spirituality, then materialism becomes a god. It's the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. Are you with me? Yeah.
Brave says the one who dies with the most toys still dies. Just saying.
Yeah, who's it about?
The other above was about California. Didn't California have enough gold, but not enough in Africa? And who sprinkled the gold?
That
was Barbara.
It's systemic, and you have a lot of people colluding. You know, I don't want to get stuck on just this. Like you have, so you take the freed slaves, you put them in the Union cavalry, and then you send them west ahead of the white settlers to kill off the natives to make sure that the white settlers can come. You know, like you have the Tuskegee Airmen. You know, you've got the white pilots, the black pilots with no ammunition, who are there to be decoys to make sure that the white fighter bombers can hit their targets. You know, they talked about this in the movie Glory, when Denzel Washington got the Oscar for it. You know, the first, supporting actor Oscar. I don't know how many people remember that movie, but at the end, they are converted into being, Union soldiers, and they got to go take the hill with no weapons, no weapons. So, when I say the government, I'm not necessarily saying that, the senators, got on the horseback and went out there. What I'm saying is that there were very intricate systems that were developed to pave the way, to persuade and open up the way for people to come west, so that they could take over the whole continent from sea to shining sea. This manifest destiny from sea to shining sea. And we're at the end. I mean, we're sitting here, what, a quarter of a mile at the max away from the edge of the continent. All the way here. Okay. And this is just another symptom of the basic paradigm. Yes, it is. Okay. So, what happens here is that in this paradigm, the entire world was just perceived as being there for our exploitation. People, places, and things were resources that we had the right to just move around unrestricted, no regulations against us, but with the government support and approval, enabling and empowering us to do this to such an extent that we are 5% of the world's population consuming 35% of the world's resources. Americans consume 35% of the world's resources. It's off the chart, y'all. There's only one planet. And this notion of the individual and the individual having that every individual always operates in their own self-interest and should operate in their own self-interest is an unexamined assumption that we need to challenge. When Trump gave his inauguration speech, and he said, every nation has the right to operate in its own self-interest, I had a cow. One, I thought that was one of the most irresponsible things that a nation as powerful as ours should say. And two, how hypocritical. Because the US is all over the world interfering with nations' self-governance. That's what Vietnam was all about. We didn't want Vietnam to become independent. It had been a French colony. The French pulled out. And we were like, no, the nominal theory, because if they become communists, everybody else is going to become communist. I look at our presence in just the Middle East now. We are forever supplying this one, putting this one in power, then turning against them and giving this one arms. Are you kidding me that everybody has a right to operate in their own self-interest? And even all of our so-called world war on terrorism is in direct contradiction to this. It's like, why would you say something like that and then talk about a nuclear arms race and then say every country has the right to operate in their own self-interest? This is maddening. This is crazy. This is like taking crazy to an nth degree. Nth degree here. Off the charts. We are on the wrong side. So Wednesday, we're doing the Martin Luther King Beyond Vietnam speech at the Resource Center for Nonviolence. I'm going to be doing an intro on that. He gave that speech a year before he was assassinated. Like to the day. 62. Yeah, 8. So he gave that one in 67. But he warned us in that speech of exactly where we are now. He said, we're on the wrong side of history, that we are using our military, that we are using our commerce for the wrong things, to oppress people, to keep them down. And that if we don't do a change, that we're going to wind up exactly, basically where we are now. He kept warning against that. He said we needed a revolution of values, where we put people above things. We needed a revolution of values, where we weren't taking all of our money and spending it on war. The United States, 45 cents of every dollar in the world on military expenditures is spent by us.
No.
We are 5% of the world's population and 45% of the entire world's military expenditure. The next closest is only 4 to 5%. We spend more than the next 9 total. Unbelievable. We have a presence in over 120 countries. Doing what? Doing what? And it'll be a cold day in hell before there's a foreign.
Protecting us.
It'll be a cold day in hell before there's a foreign military presence on U.S. soil. We're on 120.
And then you look at, that's when Trump trying to get to China. Because China is next, they did the economic one. And that's when they want, the United States want to get China with. China learned from us.
Yep.
And they learned it on the economic one.
Yep.
And that's why a lot of people don't know that. That China really is the next, they didn't go out trying to rule the world. I mean, with military thing, it's okay, we're going to think the brain. So they're doing it just to reverse on economic. That's when Trump is after China about their economic part of this thing. Because that's what China's on the second line of being the leader of the world on economic. So but you're right, because everybody kept asking me, I said, we got more, I work for the I said, we got more stuff there. I said, we don't need no more stuff to be there. We got it out there.
You know,
That's it.
I mean, if we're truthful, China already is there.
Yeah.
Because we're in debt.
Yeah. China does.
We're in debt to them. And, you know, they're owning more and more, you know, of our real estate.
Yeah.
Not our net worth. It's like we have an asset, but not net worth when you take out our debt. This guy, I'm sorry, we're going to have to look at it in terms of the pages because this is a banging around here. Our photocopy machine doesn't duplex, so you got to do it hand, and it's screwy. So their pages are at the bottom. So page 1 is on the front, and page 2 is actually on the back. So we're going to pull something up, and this is from the Parliament of Religions, one of the most respected organizations in the world. And I'm specifically choosing them because it's global. I'm choosing them because it's not about like blue versus red. I'm choosing them because they are like the United Nations of religion, where everybody belongs to them. I was really sad that there was so much going on here I wasn't able to attend. Last year, they were in the United States. They were in Salt Lake City. The Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu, and everybody was here. There are just thousands and thousands, you know, that people are coming from all over the world. Their conference is every 2 years. The one before that had been in Sydney, and New Thought, our particular brand of spirituality, got recognized by the World Parliament of Religions, and Beckwith represented us on the world stage. I think it was in Barcelona before that. I'm not really sure where the next one is. But I belong to the Association of Global New Thought. I'm on their board of advisors. And we're, you know, one of the organizations that's part of this Parliament of World Religions. And when I saw this, it really made my heart, it just made my heart hurt. That the body of the world's religions had to come out against us. Against what we're doing to the environment and the deregulations that are happening now with the Environmental Protection Agency. Just basically rolling back almost anything about everything, from birth control to education to it is unbelievable. And what? Yes. So we're gonna show it on the screen here. Can you see it on the screen?
Can you at home? online see the screen? Can you unmute yourselves and
Can you tell us if you see it?
they should be able to see it.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, all right, then you can follow along with us. So like I said, those of you who are here, page 1 is on the front, page 2 is on the back, and we just got to go through it to see where the pages are.
Okay, please mute yourself.
Everybody mute. So this is the Parliament of World's Religions, an interfaith power of light, which is their like action body, jointly respond to Trump executive order on coal and environmental protections. This is a message from the Parliament Executive Director, Larry Greenfield, and the President of Interfaith Power and Light, Reverend Sally Bingham. And their resumes are on the back. So let me explain who the organization is first. Can you scroll down to page 5? Okay. Where it says the Parliament of World Religions. There, right there, back up, there. That whole paragraph there.
What do you want me to do? Click on it?
No, I want you to just scroll so they can see that whole paragraph. It starts with the blue, the Parliament of World Religions. Yes, there you go. The Parliament of World Religions cultivates harmony among the world's spiritual traditions and fosters their engagement with guiding institutions in order to achieve more peaceful, just, and sustainable world. Its origins are rooted to the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago, where the historic first convening of the World Parliament of Religions created a global platform for engagements of religions of the East and West. Can you mute them?
Yeah, let me go. I have to get back to that screen.
Okay. They're headquartered in Chicago. The Parliament is headquartered here, kind of like the United Nations. It's headquartered in the United States. The Parliament hosts the world's premier interfaith convening in cities across the globe. Past parliaments have convened nearly 50,000 people across the world in Chicago, Cape Town, South Africa, Barcelona, Melbourne, Salt Lake City. These are some of the recent ones. The forthcoming one is going to be, the next one is going to be coming up, and that location will soon be announced. And it also tells you who the people are who are writing this. So you get a sense, of who they are. And you know, I'm not going to go through all of their credentials, but they're very credentialed people, okay? And this is a joint letter that has come out. So it's going to start on the back. Can you start back up at the top? And any of you who want to look this up, I will send you the link to it in my email. Okay, so this is joint coming out of San Francisco and Chicago on March 30th. Okay, this is hot off the press. President Donald Trump's actions this week to reverse the steady progress being made in confronting the challenge of climate change are not only alarming and dangerous, these actions are immoral. Religious and spiritual communities and people of conscience across the earth must commit themselves to work together to stand against the president's irresponsible and unethical actions, actions that threaten human beings everywhere, that endanger living species across the globe and put the earth at peril, argues Larry Greenfield, Executive Director of the Parliament of World's Religions. The Interfaith Power and Light and the Parliament of World's Religions have joined together to express their deep concern over Trump's administration's deceptively titled Executive Order on, quote unquote, energy independence and economic growth. And join with people of faith and conscience within the United States and across the world to protest the president's action. Okay, you question it, but see how these concepts are going to get. Economic independence is another word for nationalism. That's another word for that's another word for us being able to do whatever it is that we want to do and connect that to the notion of economic growth. Economic growth, our national independence, we should have the right to do anything for our own economic growth. Okay? Based on a flawed understanding of both economics and science, the president's actions compromises Americans' health and safety, damages our economy in both the short and the long term, and undermines our children's future well-being and security. The executive order blatantly and callously plays on real fears and economic pain, while it puts the benefit of a few of the richest Americans ahead of the needs and the rights of the vast majority, and offers no real solutions or help to those in economic distress. It purports benefits are ephemeral, exaggerated, and non-existent. This is that collusion part that I was talking about. The collusion part. You keep people blind and you convince them that this is in your name and this is for your best interests. The Clean Power Plan that the president wants to reverse and roll back has important provisions to move the United States towards reliable, affordable, and renewable energy and energy efficiency, while preventing as many as 3,000 premature deaths and almost 100,000 asthma attacks by year 2030. The CPP is helping to bring the benefits of clean energy, like good jobs and lower energy bills, to consumers in every community. This carefully crafted plan, which is now in jeopardy, has the input of millions of Americans through the public comment process and has support from industry leaders. Now we're going to go to number 3, which is back behind the second page. The other elements of the president's executive order are as pernicious as dismantling the Clean Power Plan. The sweeping order attempts to undo methane standards for oil and gas operations, stop federal agencies from considering the imminent and demonstrable impact of climate change in their decisions, and opens up federal lands for coal mining and fracking. The cumulative impact of this executive order will harm the economy, reduce jobs, endanger the health and safety of communities, take decision-making away from states and communities, and lead to wasteful spending of federal funds internationally and domestically. Its promises are false, but the damage it will cause will be very real. This issue goes to the heart of our spiritual values and our call to promote justice, protect life, and to be good stewards of creation. Over the past decade, important progress has been made. Federal actions have helped curb pollution from power plants, raised mileage standards, and made our cars more fuel efficient, and helped communities avoid impacts of climate change. We have much more to do, and we should be building on our progress, not rolling them back. Global warming threatens the earth and disproportionately harms the most vulnerable among us. That's why climate change is a common factor in all environmental justice issues and an urgent priority for people of faith. They're talking around the world, okay? Although it affects everyone, poor and vulnerable communities that contributed least to creating this problem bear the brunt of its impacts. From devastating drought in sub-Saharan Africa to powerful storms that wipe out coastal communities to deadly air pollution, it's the poor who suffer first and worst. Faith communities will fight these reactionary measures every step of the way. We will use energy efficiently, install renewable energy in our facilities, and build climate resilient communities. We will support those most in need and those who bear the brunt of climate impacts, and encourage and help those most responsible for climate change to increase their efforts. The choices we make today will shape the world in which our children live. We have a responsibility to ensure that those choices are guided by our values as people of faith. And it goes on and on.
Wow.
The world is speaking out. The world is speaking out. Well, it's just one last paragraph. We'll finish that. The Reverend Canon Sally Bingham, president of the Interfaith Power and Light, concludes, and you can read the whole thing online. The executive order is shocking to anyone who cares about the future generations, and the right to breathe clean air. We have struggled for many years to secure a healthy and safe future for our children and grandchildren by responding to the urgent threat of climate change. For anyone who believes in God and believes that God puts us here to look after the garden, stewarding creation is a moral imperative. All of the world's greatest religions teach that caring for our earth is a responsibility and that we must serve the poor and vulnerable. It is a sin to knowingly harm creation and endanger our air and water. Is this what our president intends to do? Sin against God? This is a shameful day in our country's history. Free.
I want to say something.
You can take that off now.
Oh.
You can take it off the screen.
I'm Callie, and see what?
There.
Oh, okay. See, President Trump doesn't have to breathe the same air that we do. He doesn't have to drink the same water that we do. He doesn't have to live on the same planet that we do. So he can make these decrees. That's all I have to say.
It's not Trump. Okay, it's not about Trump. Okay, this is about us. This is about our values. This is about who we are. And are we so desperate for that concept of jobs? Are we so desperate that we are willing to do anything, harm anybody, or whatever, if we can make a buck out of it? That it doesn't matter who you destroy. That it doesn't matter what we do to the earth. That what's more important is that you pay me to do it. And that I can put food on my table. We're in a crisis of values here. Are you with me? This is a crisis of value. This is big business at its best. This is big business at its best. And the thing here, and I'm going to open it up, the thing here that's driving this is a trickle down idea of economic growth. it isn't capitalism per se. It's the brand of how we look at it, and trickle down basically says that the rich will do whatever it is to keep getting richer. And that if you unharness them and don't restrict them, that they are going to use their money to build empires. And in the building of their empires, they're going to create jobs for everybody else. And in their pursuit of wealth, a little bit of that is going to trickle down to the hands of the people. What we have proven time and time again is trickle down never works. The only thing that ever stimulates economic growth is when you put the money in the hands of the people. When you let the people use their creativity, when you let the people use their genius. In countries that are hit the hardest, not only put the money in the hands of the people, put the money in the hands of the women. Do microloans, give them a chicken, give them a cow. You know, give them something to make some baskets. That when you, it's like feed a fish, you know, give a person a fish, you feed them for a day. Teach them how to fish, you feed them for a lifetime. That this trickle down doesn't work. All it does is make more intransigent this ruling elite. And we have now given the keys. It's like we have given the keys to the entire planet to the wealthiest bunch of people who have ever ruled the planet. This is unprecedented in human history, to have this many billionaires who are in these positions and rolling back all of these regulations and stuff. And now is the time. And I'm at the heart of it. We have to say no. At the heart of it, we have to say we don't have the right. It is not our nature. This is not our nature to exploit. It is not our nature to just have more and more and more. It is not our nature to just do anything that we want to do just because we can do it. It is not our nature to kill our mother planet. That it's not our nature. And for us to start speaking up and saying, no, we don't have the right to do this. We don't have the right. And to challenge us as Americans. To say, no, we don't have the right to implement this stuff. We don't have the right to do stuff that's going to impact the climate all over the world. This is heretical now to stand up and say we don't have the right. Not even should we, or can we, but we do not have the right. Can you feel where that's another conversation?
Yeah.
We don't have the right. Taking some people and then
We're
I'll
gonna
do.
chat. From Barbara, what is the World Council of Churches?
The World Council of Churches is a part of the World Parliament of Religion, but the World Council of Churches is more, what's the word I'm looking? They're more institutionally oriented, whereas the World Council, whereas the Parliament of Religions is more like societally focused. They're not focused so much on their own denominations. They are there to help solve like the world's biggest problems, you know, homelessness, you know, education, healthcare, environmental issues and things. They exist to be a think tank and to to lobby and to work with their own respective governments and to help bring the peace. And part of the reason why I'm choosing this is that they're not warring. These are Muslims and Christians and Jews and Buddha, all coming together under one voice about a common responsibility. Yeah.
IKEA says also see their condemnation of Trump's position on climate change and suppression of research that supports climate change, and she shares a link.
Yes.
Parliament of Religions.
Good. Thank you.
Universal rejection of Trump censorship. And Barbara said, comments, even if just for themselves, don't they think of their grandchildren? I just don't get it.
It's denial. It's denial. It kind of reminds me of this scene. We're coming towards the end here. It reminds me of this scene in Titanic. And the ship is going down. And this wealthy guy, this pompous wealthy guy, is offering one of the servants like all the money he has if he will just like save him. And the servant is like, what the hell is your money gonna do? You hear me talk sometimes about this cartoon that the Pachamama Alliance would use in the Awakening a Dreamer. I'm on their board of directors, where it has this boat. And the boat, instead of being in the water like this, boat's like this. And there's a hole down here. And you have people down here that are bailing out the water, and you have people who are sitting up here. And the people who are sitting up here are looking down at the people bailing out the water, and the caption reads, "So glad the hole's not on our side of the boat." It's crazy. It's just nuts. I mean, it's just, it's like, it makes no sense. But that's that blindness that we were talking about the privilege and how much length we will go through to not let ourselves see. Because it would be too incongruent with our self-image of the good guy and the just and fair world.
Yeah.
But this is spiritual. Do you catch what I'm saying? Like what's going on in our economy is spiritual. We are here about oneness. That's what we are here about. We're not here to just tackle all the problems, the outer effects, or we'll be running around like my mother used to say, like a chicken with their head cut off. We'll be running around forever. We have to create the demand for the oneness. We have to create the demandness for the equality, for the justice, for the connection to the earth, for the sense of communal and collective responsibility. I'm not talking about communism as an economic thing. I am talking about just decency, challenging that underlying assumption that each and every one of us is supposed to operate on our own self-interest. That's not true to our human nature. Human beings are communal and have always been.
Today, we have a message from the day. Can I do what? A day says, peace and blessings, family. I have missed you all. 5 weeks ago, I started working with a group of men who are dealing with the effects of homelessness, drug addiction, and disability. That's why I haven't been here. I'm grateful that I can join on the phone. Sending you all love and blessings.
Great, thank you.
the rest of the messages are greetings back to a day.
Okay.
And except for there's one question from Barbara. Does World Council of Churches collude with the International Monetary Fund?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
That would be an interesting question, but I don't know the answer. I realize this is hard stuff.
It's all hard stuff. Every bit of it is hard.
You know, I realize it's hard stuff.
But necessary.
Yes, necessary. Because if we don't wake up, we're going to be on the default position, and we're going to be duped by tweets and a bunch of bullshit. You know.
That's when, not talking about you. That's when in the South, if you listen to them, that's when he went into, that's when the Republican went into the people that I won't call them ignorant, people that don't understand what we're trying to understand. That's when they try to, cause in this, that's when God put, heaven and earth for us to be on it, for us to protect it. So if we don't listen, that's when he hit this. The southern states are the one that don't get the clarification of the Bible. It's not that they don't, it's just that they didn't get that's when I had to leave out. Because I'm looking, this is something that's revealed, isn't it? I'm looking at these, you got to understand it's what you're saying in the economic part. That's when they hit the Southern Baptists and the other religions that going into this, I can't put it in words, but that's when they hit the ignorant of the people that don't know this. That's when you have your southern states trying to rule, who got Trump. Trump hit it, who put Trump in, is the southern, how I want to put it. He went into the ignorant part. And he went into that they didn't know, not to say they weren't taught to look further than just what you read in the Bible. They weren't taught to lead to get what you're trying to say. That's when they said liberal. When you got into this thing, if you go back there now, and we try to teach people to help with the environment, to save the environment. But that's what you were saying.
Yeah.
In this religious. Yeah. I can't explain it like
that. We replayed the Civil War.
Yeah.
The Civil War has never ended.
Right.
It's never ended in terms of the underlying war about the values, about like the control and states' rights, and who gets to do whatever they want to do for their own economic, benefit and traditional. And I mean, it's been this way for many, many years, and it got like exploited. And we've just been ping-ponging back on this, and now it's time to do some deep healing. So I'm putting all of this in front, not to make us judge like all those bad people in the White House, but it's to say there are misguided underlying assumptions that are driving things that we personally have to wake up to and stop colluding with. In our own hearts, and in conversations with people about this. Can you imagine if we go back to the vision piece? That vision piece. What if in conversations about that we're not just talking about, I can't believe Trump did this and I can't believe Trump did that, but get back to, you know what? We all live on this planet together, and it's all of our responsibility to protect it. And none of us has the right to destroy the planet. None of us has the right to have the waters dry up and this and that. It's just that we don't have the right. And that just shifts the whole thing around from who's doing what to saying we don't have the right. Like, what is our justification for doing this? If we just challenge each other about that, well, how is this justified? And I think people will have a hard time articulating the justification If we do no more than just disturb people a little bit
Oh, yeah, that's my.
in making them think.
Yeah, so it's that.
Yes,
And let them start looking up things.
yes.
Barbara
I'm about
said-
to end.
Barbara says we can't deal and heal if we don't feel.
Exactly.
And Rafe says, for we have brought nothing into the world, and it is plain that neither can we carry anything out. But having food and clothing, we will be satisfied with these. But those having purpose to be rich fall into many foolish and hurtful lusts, which plunge men into death and destruction. For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evils, by which some lusted after it, were seduced from the faith, and they themselves pierced through by many pains. 1 Timothy 6, verses 7 through 10, the interlinear Bible.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Reverend Ray. He graduates in a couple of months. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
Are we almost done?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Make your comment.
One of the sessions that I was studying, you were explaining about the disassociation
Mhm.
with, you were talking about Western Europe, and you specified this is just an example of humanity,
Mhm.
where there was a mindset of we're not enough,
Mhm.
and there's never going to be enough.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing of I deserve that, whatever I want. But you spoke about the disassociation,
Yes.
and I keep coming back to that inside and trying to understand this. And
I'll
I know
give,
it's a whole big
yeah, I'll give you,
discussion.
I'll give you something, and we can talk about that next time. But what I would say is, do you know anything about addiction?
Yes, and myself.
Okay, think addiction, and then it makes sense.
Because
Where our drug of choice is power. Our drug of choice is being right. Our drug of choice is the hero. That's our drug of choice.
And more.
And all this stuff and even violence is one of our drugs of choice. And you get disassociative. You can't see yourself anymore. When you're in addiction, you can't do any self-reflection. You're too much in it. And the disassociation part, the slimy part about disassociation, is that within you, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. So it's like the better part of you won't see the slimy part. It blinders and all of the rest of that kind of stuff. So you can't do any healing because you can't even see it. And then it ups the ante on that and flips it around to make it good. Justifies it. Exactly. It's a good thing. Good thing. Yeah. Yeah. So we run way over yet.
One more comment,
Okay.
two, I guess. The birthing process, this is from a day. The birthing process requires deep breathing and pushing through these crazy days. # breathe and push. And then Rafe says, we need one universal 12-step fellowship. Let's call it HA, Humans Anonymous.
That's cute.
That's cute. You know what? You may be onto something, my brother. You really may be onto something. I like that.
Yeah.
We need to talk. I think you got something going on there.
he's going to be a reverend. Yeah, that's true.
Rafe graduates from my alma mater, a different campus, but my alma mater in mid-June. I'm going to do the commencement. What's the date again?
June 17th at 1 p.m.
Yeah, I should remember that date. Yeah. That was my parents' wedding anniversary, and it was also the first day that the gay people could start getting married in California. So I thought that was quite auspicious. Yeah. And we're all invited. We can all go. It's at the San Jose Church of Religious Science, San Jose Center for Spiritual Living. This is good, this is good stuff.
Yes, it is.
This is good stuff. Just breathe, And keep praying. That's what I'm asking you to do now. Is pray. Just pray. Pray for our goodness. Pray for our humanity. Pray for our great awakening. And just know that money is energy. Okay? And you have the power to do with money constructive things. We can do constructive things and we can do destructive things. So now is a time, like for all of us who are waking up, to start like supporting the companies that are going in the right direction, you know, supporting the organizations that are going in the right direction, like literally using our dollar, not just to boycott, but to support. Okay?
We got to do our research to see what industry, like the Koch brothers own so much.
Yeah,
They own so much stuff.
there's some good stuff. I'll bring some guides and whatnot.
Yeah, please.
It's very depressing.
Yeah.
Because it's like nearly everything I do in life. It's like on the hit list.
Well, you can show
From products to you
show
name it.
that feel it last week.
Yeah, let's
I
get
started looking at, oh my God, everything got good. All right.
all the companies?
Yeah.
All the companies that are doing the prison labor.
Yes.
All right. We give ourselves permission, yes?
Yes.
I give myself a permission to be all I can be. I give myself a permission to live passionate and free. I give myself a permission to be all I can be. I give myself a permission to live passionate and free. Amen, amen. Thank you for those of you who are making online donations too. Let us take this consciousness and multiply it. Oh, and just a heads up, in May we're going to start switching to Wednesdays. I don't know if that's going to impact people, but we'll talk about that next week. Somebody be mindful.
I'm gonna try to get from home on the website because I'm going back to
You go back to taking care of business.
Yeah.